October 26, 2001. Civil Liberties Tested. President George W. Bush signed the Uniting and Strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism act, known as the USA PATRIOT Act. The law represented a direct legislative response to the September 11th terrorist attacks. Both houses of Congress passed the bill with large majorities, demonstrating bipartisan support for strengthened national security measures. The act's purpose was to deter and punish acts of terrorism within the United States and abroad, while enhancing law enforcement investigative powers and improving information sharing between federal agencies. The USA PATRIOT Act consisted of 10 titles that covered diverse areas of federal authority. Title I expanded the ability of federal agencies to share intelligence information between law enforcement and national security divisions. Title II authorized broader electronic surveillance, including roving wiretaps that allowed investigators to monitor multiple communication devices associated with a single suspect. These provisions amended the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978 and the Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986, updating them for the digital era. Title III introduced the International Money Laundering Abatement and Anti-Terrorist Financing Act. It strengthened oversight of financial transactions, requiring banks to implement stricter identification procedures and to report suspicious activities to the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. This title reflected the government's recognition that terrorist networks relied on complex financial channels that needed monitoring to disrupt funding flows. Title IV addressed border security, authorizing additional immigration inspectors and improved data tracking systems for foreign nationals entering the country. The act's enactment also altered criminal law enforcement. Title V allowed the use of national security letters, enabling the Federal Bureau of Investigation to obtain certain records without a court order when related to national security investigations. Title VI improved support systems for victims of terrorism, while Title VII enhanced information sharing among federal, state, and local agencies. Title VIII expanded the definition of terrorism and established harsher penalties for offenses related to terrorist activities. Collectively, these measures redefined how the federal government approached domestic and international threats. The legislative process was exceptionally fast. The bill was introduced on October 23, 2001, passed the House on October 24, passed the Senate on October 25, and was signed by the President on October 26. This rapid passage reflected the urgency of the post-attack environment. The Department of Justice played a key role in drafting and promoting the bill, framing it as essential to prevent future terrorist acts. Many provisions were based on pre-existing legislative proposals that had previously stalled but gained momentum after the attacks. The historical significance of the USA PATRIOT Act lies in its long-term impact on the balance between national security and civil liberties. It marked the largest expansion of federal surveillance powers since the establishment of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Counterintelligence Division. The law permitted information sharing between intelligence and law enforcement agencies that had been restricted since the 1970s. Supporters argued that these powers were necessary to prevent future attacks and to adapt to emerging technologies used by terrorist groups. Critics, however, warned that the law weakened Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches and set precedents for government overreach. In the years following enactment, the act was amended and reauthorized multiple times. The USA PATRIOT Improvement and Reauthorization Act of 2005 renewed several key provisions while adding oversight requirements. Certain sections, such as the roving wiretap and business records provisions, were made subject to periodic review and sunset clauses. Later reforms, including the USA Freedom Act of 2015, further limited bulk data collection by the National Security Agency. These subsequent actions demonstrated the ongoing effort to adjust the law's scope in response to technological advances and public concern. From a historical perspective, the USA PATRIOT Act symbolized a turning point in American governance during the early 21st century. It illustrated how legislative and executive institutions can rapidly transform legal frameworks in response to crisis. The law redefined the relationship between privacy, security, and federal authority, establishing new norms for data access and information control. Its legacy continues to shape policy debates over digital surveillance, intelligence reform, and constitutional rights in the United States. The Act's enactment on October 26, 2001, remains one of the most significant legislative milestones of the modern security era. For enthusiasts of historical ephemera, visit History-Collectors.com to find collectibles that might complement your collection. You can own a piece of history.